The EV3 is boldly styled on the outside and looks like a shrunken Kia EV9, entirely a compliment, as that is one of the most recognizable and visually interesting cars on sale today, and that was first presented as a concept study at the CES in Las Vegas in early 2024. At first glance, the EV3 has more in common with the mighty EV9 than with the EV6 crossover. And anyone who is even slightly interested in cars knows immediately that they are dealing here with the Kia model, and that is exactly the point of the design. The design is progressive, modern, but not polarizing. With the EV3, you stand out and in a positive way. With strong LED lighting signatures and boxy proportions, you could be forgiven for thinking it's just an EV9 that shrunk in the wash. The proportions of the 4.30 m long and 185 m wide and 156 m high Strom are harmonious and making it comparable to models such as the VW ID3 or the Volvo EX30. The angular design with deep taillights is striking, giving the vehicle a striking appearance. The wheelbase of 2.68 meters ensures stable road holding and sufficient interior space. It's also very close to the aforementioned Niro plug-in hybrid in size, a car starting from just over 38,000 euros, so inevitably the fresher, newer and cheaper EV3 will steal sales from that model. Yet that's progress, and the Niro's focus will instead be on hybrid versions and fleet sales. The front is defined by the brand's typical tiger face. This is further emphasized by the vertically and horizontally proportioned headlights. The sideline slopes slightly towards the rear, where the taillights reach under the rear window, underlining the powerful expression of the EV3, which is considered the little brother of the EV9. With a pedigree like that, the EV3 should certainly be off on the right foot, and things only get better when you look at the numbers. Its list price compares with that of other electric SUVs, and the versions with the longest official range can on paper go further than a Tesla Model Y. Let's take a look inside. Kia's interior design took a noticeable step up with the introduction of the EV9, and we are pleased that the EV3 continues that trend. The overall ambience is modern but not as minimalist as rivals such as the Volvo EX30 or the VW ID3. The interior has space for 5 people and emphasizes its lounge character. The overall interior design strikes a balance between sleek and functional without being austere. The materials aren't plush, but everything feels well made and sturdy, with smart fabrics and, in the case of our GT Line test car, soft synthetic leather-like recycled materials on the seats and on the console and on the door panels are appealing and fitted very well together. Whether good or bad in operation or design, there is no evidence of cost cutting in the EV3 in order to get to that price, certainly not in its material choice inside. The display colors, graphics and animations of the driver and infotainment displays can be personalized in the Kia EV3. Both reflect the spirit of the time. Space up front is excellent, and thanks to a low dash and big windscreen, visibility is great, making it easy to position the car on the road. The EV3's slightly elevated driving position means you have a good view out over the front of the car and out at junctions, but actually isn't all that high by SUV standards. But you still sit higher than, let's say, in a Tesla 3, and you will find it really easy to get comfortable behind the wheel, because every EV3 is getting a good amount of driver's seat and steering wheel adjustment. It's a shame too that the entry-level car doesn't get electric lumbar support adjustment for the driver. Looking over your shoulder, large rear windows give you a pretty good view of what's around you. but a large rear pillar means that your view is still slightly impeded. In fairness, it's no worse than a Kia Hyundai Kona Electric. Luckily, you won't have any stragglers when it comes to parking, because every EV3 comes with front and rear parking sensors and a rear view camera. To make things even easier, going for top spec GT line trim adds a 360-degree camera. The interior designers have come up with a practical feature for the central console. There is a small extendable table here. During charging stops, for example, a tray or simply a coffee cup can be placed up there, and even a small laptop can fit on it. Small drawback: there is no rounded edge and there is no storage in it. It would have done the table good. There is also a reclining function for the front two seats. This offers a chance to take a small rest when the vehicle's large battery in the underbody is being charged. In the GT line version, the cabin gets also a wireless charge pad, power seats, and a better Harman Kardon sound system, rear heated seats, as well as a head-up display that shows the vehicles in adjoining lanes when the adaptive cruise is in use. There are several storage areas and plenty of other cubbyholes, and again the material choice feels modern with interesting fabrics and a nice touch of color from the ambient lighting. A party piece of that is to flash red if you are speeding.
The EV3's infotainment in the cockpit is modern and contemporary. The flat display landscape, which extends towards the passenger and has a total size of 30 inches, acts as an eye-catcher and central control unit. It consists of two 12.3-inch monitors and a 5.3-inch monitor, and thus combines the instrument cluster, infotainment and climate control. The optional head-up display for the driver is also 12.3 inches and projects important information directly onto the windshield. The driver's display isn't hugely configurable, but is clear and integrates Kia's clever blind spot monitoring camera system. Navigation destinations are quickly entered into the system. The voice assistant is one of the most intelligent. Digital radio reception, plenty of USB-C ports, and a 12-volt port, smartphone integration via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto are given. Also, real-time traffic and weather information and the ability to access vehicle information from the coffee table via the Kia app. Another positive: the DriveWise ADAS package. More safety can also be ordered in the basic Air model for a fair additional charge. The optional safety package for the EV3 Earth is called the DriveWise Parking package. This includes the blind spot assistant with monitor display, the reversing and collision avoidance assistant, the parking assistant, and the 360-degree all-around view camera. The technical equipment of the EV3s includes numerous assistance systems and modern features. There is a lane change assistant, a collision warning system, and an adaptive cruise control. A digital key system that can be operated via smartphone and artificial intelligence that acts as a personal travel assistant round of the offer. Entertainment is also provided. Games and streaming services are available at bridge waiting times while charging. Unfortunately, in some steering situations, it is somehow obscured by the steering wheel. It's good that the EV3 still has some physical controls, because the climate control display is really quite annoying. No matter how I set the steering wheel, it's covered by the rim, causing you to dip and dive around to get a better view, so that not every function has to be called up via the display. Kia has retained rotating knobs for the audio volume, temperature and fan controls, which a lot of users will prefer. They are located below the panoramic display and can be used to call up the menu, navigation map, media and other functions, for example. The most important functions can also be controlled via the steering wheel buttons. In fact, the cockpit seems anything but overloaded, but the same cannot be said for the steering wheel with its many buttons. Very unusual is the rotary roller for the volume and turn-off button in the middle of the dashboard. A button or a rotary roller for the volume is generally better than operating it with a slider or a touchscreen pressure point, but it is also impractically placed right in the middle of the console. The connectivity in the EV3 is great. For example, depending on the configuration, the vehicle in its current lane is shown on the right edge of the display with the distance to the vehicle standing or moving next to it. In addition, depending on the driving situation, the entire road is projected onto the display by the cameras, and it is also shown in sharp detail at night. Another nice feature is the display of the fees incurred on the toll roads in a pop-up window after driving through the toll station. There are plenty of USB-C points dotted throughout the cabin, and as with other Kia EVs, you can even set the seats into a relaxation mode when charging. Useful and attractive features such as the inductive smartphone charging station, the digital key, digital key 2.0, and the Harman Kardon sound system with 8 instead of 6 loudspeaker chassis including central loudspeaker and subwoofer standard in the GT line are unfortunately not available in the entry-level Air model. It's a shame because the digital key can be used to open the EV3 with a smartphone. The level of safety in the Kia EV3 is high, but the number of assistance systems depends on the equipment line and the equipment package ordered. The basic safety in the Kia EV3 Air includes the lane following assistant, the lane keeping assistant with sometimes annoying corrective steering intervention, and positive is that this can be switched off. The highway assistant, the front collision warning, 1.5 including turning function, the adaptive cruise control with stop and go function, the rear view camera, the parking sensors at the front and the rear, and the eCall emergency call service. The Middle East equipment includes the highway assistant 2, the front collision warning system 2.0, including crossing coming, traffic detection and evasive function, and the active blind spot assistant with steering and braking intervention, rear cross traffic warning. The EV3 is fairly small for an electric SUV, but it's far more roomier in the back than a Jeep Avenger electric or a Mini Aceman. A couple of 6-footers will fit just fine, with plenty of knee room and just about enough headroom. The interior is pretty wide, so even a pair of broad adults won't find that their shoulders are close to rubbing. In addition, there is no high cardan tunnel on the bench seat, on the outer seats of which 2 child seats can be attached to the ISOFIX brackets, which is actually almost always a nuisance. And the flat floor allows for comfortable seating for 3 people, and thanks to the somewhat high-set front seats can even put their feet beneath. It's worth noting though that the Skoda Elroq costs similar money and it's roomier in the back. The rear seats in the EV3 don't do anything particularly clever, such as sliding back and forth as they do in the Smart One, but you can recline the angle of the seat backs on the range top GT line. The rear seat backs can be folded down in a 60-40 split and the sections are lie flat. That's par for the course in this class, although the larger Elroq has a ski hatch in its setback for extra flexibility. A Cupra Born or Volkswagen ID3 has slightly more rear space still, but the Kia compensates with a bigger boot that has a remarkable amount of underfloor storage. You will laugh more when packing than when studying the extras. The trunk compartment with a high loading steel holds a very decent 460 liters, almost 80 liters more than in a Volkswagen Golf, behind the electric tailgate that comes as standard in the GT line. After folding down the 60/40 split rear seat backrest, the trunk capacity increases to 1251 liters. There are several storage areas and plenty of other cubbyholes. The trunk volume of the EV3 can also be seen in comparison to the competition. The Peugeot E2008 has 434 liters and the Volvo EX30 only 318 liters, and much more generous than the Jeep Avenger Electric or Mini Aceman. We managed to fit 6 carry-on suitcases below the load cover, the same number as in a Skoda Elroq. Some details in the Kia EV3 are also practical. The loading floor can be lowered by 14 centimeters. The quickly dirty charging cables end up in the 25-liter trunk, the compartment at the front under the hood. They are better off there than in the trunk. Up to 80 kilograms of cargo can be carried on the roof, and up to 1,000 kilograms can be carried on the trailer coupling when towing. One strange lapse, the luggage cover leaves a gap of about 10 centimeters to the rear seat backs. This would make sense if the rear seat adjustable, which it isn't. Kia is offering an engine with two different battery sizes for the compact SUV at market launch. The 204 horsepower electric motor is located on the front axle and the maximum torque is 283 Nm. In the basic version, a 58.3 kWh battery supplies the drive with energy. If that is not enough for you, you can choose the EV3 with an 81.4 kWh battery. The latter was available for the first test drive in GT line equipment with 19-inch wheels. This is a considerable difference to the basic version, which only has 17-inch wheels, and could also have an impact on the handling and suspension comfort. With the EV3, you can drive from A to B in a relaxed and calm manner, without rushing and without any sporting ambitions. The strength of the recuperation can be adjusted to suit personal taste using the paddles on the steering wheel. Recuperation braking one paddle drive to a standstill is just as possible as coasting without propulsion. The comparatively moderate engine does not mean that the EV3 becomes a traffic hazard for others. Not at all. Its 204 horsepower and its torque of 293 Nm are more than enough to quickly merge onto the motorway or overtake a truck on a winding country road. According to the manufacturer, the sprint to 100 km takes just 7.86 seconds. On a clear motorway, however, the EV3 is cranked up to a top speed of 170 km. This is completely sufficient for everyday use. The energy consumption per 100 km for the GT line with a large battery is stated as 16.2 kWh. The possible range is therefore 563 km. Anyone who wants the maximum range will have to make do with a version with 17-inch wheels. Only when configured this way will the EV3 reach the stated 605 km. The EV3 is new from the road up and rides on Kia's electric global modular platform. It also uses revised battery chemistry. The energy density per cell has been increased by 22% compared to the current Niro electro vehicle, which increases the driving range, and it can be charged in a faster fashion. Further out, the EV3 lineup will be bolstered by the addition of all-wheel drive versions of the EV3 GT line and top-spec EV3 GT. The base EV3 is used by the standard 53.8 kWh battery, which delivers up to 435 km of driving range. The better choice is the largest long-range 81.4 kilowatt battery. It extends the range to 605 kilometers based on the European WLTP testing method. Both batteries work using a 400 volt architecture. When plugged into the right DC fast charger, the smaller battery goes from 10 to 80% in 29 minutes. The larger battery takes 31 minutes. The disappointment is Kia was one of the very first to embrace an 800 volt architecture and the advantages it brings. Doubling the voltage halves the amperage, which significantly reduces the heat built up during charging. The latter allows the battery to stay at a higher charge rate for longer. The upside is a quick stop at a charge point on the drive route, so the EV3 battery go from 65 to 80% in under 7 minutes. This short splash and go gave the EV3 around a 100 km boost in the driving range, which is good. The day started with the instrumentation showing the battery at 95% and the range as 609 km. Interestingly, the driving range guide, which is new, looks at the driver's driving style and shows maximum and minimum driving ranges. Based on that information, the maximum represents what a light foot and no air conditioning might yield. The minimum is what a heavy foot with the air cranked might produce. In this tester case, it was showing a very impressive maximum of 701 km and an equally impressive minimum of 298 km. The driver must have been kind to the battery to generate those numbers. On the 200 km test route, the battery dropped to 65% and the range to 376 km. It should be noted the air conditioning was cranked during the drive with much rain and low temperatures outside. There were some lengthy stretches of highway driving with no regeneration, and our tester it was wearing the larger 19-inch wheels. None of these are good for overall range, yet the EV3s managed to take out more than expected. In the end, the driving experience says the front drive EV3 with a long-range battery has the potential to deliver a real-world driving range of over 600 km, which surpasses its peers, notably the Volvo EX30 with ease. One of the key improvements is found in Kia's iPedal 3.0. The previous versions of iPedal saw the regenerative action cease once the vehicle dropped below 10 km. This meant it was not a true one-pedal drive. The addition of iPedal 3.0 addresses this, as it allows the driver to control the EV3 through the accelerator pedal alone and ride to a full stop. Unlike other setups, it also allows the driver to tailor the amount of regeneration when using the one-pedal mode. There are level 0, 1, 2 and 3, with the latter delivering the most regen and strongest braking action. The levers are changed through the left and right pedal shifters. There is also an automated regeneration mode, Smart Regeneration System 3.0. Pulling back on the right paddle for a second or so selects the auto function. Unlike the manual mode, it dips into the navigation information to determine the right amount of regen for the conditions. It also looks after driving speed. It takes speed limits into account and slows when the limit drops. From a functional standpoint, iPedal 3.0 works very well. It slows, comes to a full stop and holds that position until the go pedal is nudged when the light changes. My need was the amount of regenerative braking. Even in maxed out level 3, there was not enough regeneration for my taste. Yes, it slowed in a positive and reassuring manner, but I still felt the need to hover my foot over the brake pedal just in case. A more aggressive regeneration strategy would eliminate this tentative sensation completely. That aside, the ability to dial the rate of regeneration back to level 2 on the highway did away with the jerkiness found in other vehicles, and it did so without having to shift out of iPedal. This proved to be a big plus. On the drive route, a number of things impressed. First, in spite of having rather lowly looking power output numbers, the on-road performance proved to be more than enough to satisfy. The EV3 scoots off the line with authority and on through the might range without missing a beat. The other plus is the drive saw the EV3 average 60.9 kWh per 100 km. That equals an average economy of 1 liter per 100 km and an annual very low charging cost. The drive is supposed to be surprisingly nimble dynamics. No, the EV3 will not be mistaken for a sports car, but it did handle everything thrown at it in fine style. The ride is comfortable and quiet. The handling is crisp, with minimal body roll through a faster corner. The secret lies in the smart frequency dampers. They control unwanted body motion by using the internal mechanical valving. In simple terms, the damping firms when the speed of the body's motion is fast, which limits unwanted roll. The rest of the time, they deliver a relaxed drive and feel. The steering is likewise crisp and quick without feeling dirty on the highway. In the end, the sense is a lot of time went into tuning the ride and drive characteristics. There are Eco, Normal, Sport, My Drive, which is customizable, and Snow driving modes. Eco is too soft, Normal proved to be the best. It's responsive when needed and it conserves electrons when not. So it pretty much does the lot. Sport sharpness the response and puts more heft in the steering wheel. It's so little use because Normal is just about ideal. The high curb weight also has an effect on ride and handling. It's comfortable for the most part, but can feel a little bouncy over undulations, while there can be quite a bit of body roll. That may not be hugely important for this type of crossover, but the EV3 isn't a particularly sharp car to drive. The Kia EV6 proved one of the keener driver's cars of its class when it was launched, but the EV3 switched to front-wheel drive signals a different set of priorities. Not that front-wheel drive cars can be sharp handled. Of course, it's just that the EV3 isn't one of them. It grips well and its body doesn't roll excessively, but there is an indirectness to the EV3's front axle that makes it feel a tad lethargic when you dip into a corner with some enthusiasm. The steering also doesn't notably weight up as you put some load through throttle. The test car had very impressive grip and stopping distances in the wet, but felt a little indirect in the dry. That sounds like the result of a tire that has been optimized for wet conditions, and I wonder what it will be like on different rubber. Kia's engineers seem to have focused mainly on safety and stability, which is hard to argue within a car like this, of course. The traction and stability control system in particular is much improved from the Niro EV, where that it can easily spool up an inside wheel when the driver accelerates hard from a tight junction. The EV3 system carefully meted out the power so that traction is never broken and the driver doesn't really feel the intervention. The ride over surface imperfections suffers, however. It's not terribly given the 19-inch wheels, but it can be quite fidgety, sending slight shivers through the car where you hit corrugations. A Cupra Born feels a bit firmer overall, but better damped and more composed, thanks to its 17-inch wheels with taller tire sidewalls. The basic version is slightly better cushioned. The adaptive cruise control is not as smooth as other manufacturers' systems and cannot be switched to standard cruise control. Semi-autonomous lane following can be toggled easily with the steering wheel button. Lane keeping assistance is effectively unusable on countryside roads, but it thankfully easily disabled by holding a steering wheel button. The overspeed warning can be easily muted by holding the volume button on the steering wheel, but when you do this, it will still beep every time the speed limit changes. To disable this, you need to turn off the speed limit recognition system fully by diving into a menu. Worst of all is the driver attention monitor, which uses an infrared camera on the steering column. The system is incredibly overzealous, can only be disabled in a sub-menu and re-enables on startup. Even when turned off, it can falsely accuse you of falling asleep. The Kia EV3 doesn't have the ballistic performance of something like a Volvo EX30 twin motor or a Tesla Model 3, and so you have to put your foot down a little bit more than these cars when it comes to joining a faster road. But with 204 horsepower, it's hardly slow and you can get up to speed without any drama. The Kia EV3 is a capable and comfortable crossover that will serve the affordable end of the market very well. The front drive model has ample performance, a long driving range when the bigger battery is in place, along with the comfort and space needed to cater to a family of 5. The EV3 is the home run that pushes the entry-level electric crossover to the next level. On the road, the poor ADAS are a significant annoyance, and the EV3 dynamic character isn't very strong. Even so, the version tested here undercuts most rivals on price and offers very strong range, rapid charging and practicality. The drivability and user interface on Kia EV is second to none. Although it's not quite the game changer it seems at first, the EV3 is still quite the achievement and is making the class more competitive.